You'll never guess who did this. You'll never guess who did that. Dude, I'm done trying to guess what the heck is happening in the world. I'm done being surprised with it. Never start your video off like that. It's lazy and cheap and mostly AI. Hello everyone, my name's Stonsey Boy and welcome back to Reading with Stonsey. Today we are reading chapters 11 to 12, page 124 to 148 of Minecraft The Island. 24 pages. It's gonna be pretty long, but you know what? It's gotta happen. Next episode's gonna be pretty easy. Then we're gonna have two more long episodes, and then it's gonna be, I think the last couple episodes are gonna be pretty easy. So, yeah. Without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 11. Courage is a full-time job. I'd be lying if I said I remember my dream, or even if I had any. But waking up the next morning confirmed that a good night's sleep could do with the mind. Imagine walking through fog, not so thick that you can't see your hand in front of your face, but just thick enough to blot out the landscape. That'd been me for so many sleepless nights. Now the fog had lifted, I could only see where I was going. Back to fishing, I thought, grabbing my shears, trying to get back to the net. Hey, Cloud, I said to the white sheep. How'd you sleep? Do you sleep? Apparently I do, and it's gotten the reels turning. In fact, I snipped off 3 fluffy cubes. I was thinking the only piece of missing net puzzle was more wool. Spying Flint a few paces away, I was relieved to see that his or her beautiful black coat had grown back. No problem if this doesn't work, I said, shearing off 2 more soft dark blocks and carrying them to the forest side crafting table. Because I woke up with a backup plan. In less than a minute and several wool-on-wool combinations later, I saw that fishing net idea was out. And that backup plan is, I told the sheep, drumroll please, a fishing pole. Bah, said Flint, who went back to eating grass. I know, I said, duh, it's an obvious tool. What difference does a few Z's make? Crafting a quartet of sticks, I placed them on the wool in the crafting table. While mixing and matching came up with nothing but rearranged brain had already on the backup plan. So wool doesn't work, I said, reaching to the length of the spider silk in my pack. But what didn't work either? I moved on to the next logical step and make enthusiasm cool. Maybe this world won't let me make a fishing pole, I warily told in my sheep. I'm kind of hoping that's true. An icy ball began growing in my stomach. Because if not, then the only other option is getting another length of spider silk. That sound made me jump. Don't sneak up on me like that, I told Moo angrily. Moo, she retorted, tell me not to change the subject. It won't be that dangerous, I said, holding up my bow. We know they're docile in daylight, so if I could pick one off at the safe distance, she snorted. I gotta try, I protested, holding up a handful of zombie flesh. I can't be living on this stuff. Moo, argued the cow, reminding me about the garden. Well, that's still a long way off, I said. And we still don't know if I could eat it. Moo questioned Moo, and seeing as I wasn't telling her the whole story. No, I guess it's not just about food, I admitted, as thoughts and feelings rose from the deep in my gut. It's about courage. Looking down at my shoes, I suddenly felt a twinge of shame. I've been afraid of those mobs, always running from them, always thinking about what they could do to me. Bah, said Flint, and a healthy dose of common sense. Yes, I know I should be afraid of them, I conceded. If I wasn't, won't be alive. If that fear's a survival instinct, then I won't ever ignore it. I looked out of the bow again and then up to my friends. But I can't be a prisoner of it either. I need to know if I have to fight, I can. But I can control my fear instead of it always controlling me. I motioned to Disappointment Hill. If I don't, I'll be cowering in a hole forever that might be surviving, but it's not living. Moo let out a low, resigned moo. He knew I was making sense, even if that sense put me right in harm's way. Yeah, you're right, I answered, looking at the late morning sun. I wish I had come to the conclusion last night. At least then I could have found a spider fist thing in the morning, instead of having to wait for one more tomorrow. Nothing is worse than waiting, counting the seconds drenched in anxiety. Do you know the difference between anxiety and fear? I didn't until that day. Fear is a real, right-in-your-face threat. Anxiety comes from a potential, or in case, future threat. Fear can be conquered. Anxiety has to be endured. And that's what I did, walking around the island, talking to Moo and other animals, going over the mine on how I'd kill a spider and while during wave after wave of mouth-drying, jaw-clenching anxiety. At the crest of those moments, the waves of a stormy sea were thoughts I'm little reluctant about. They were thoughts of backing out. A garden would be ripe soon. Zombie flesh isn't so bad. There's no proof whatsoever this world would let you make a fishing pole. There are only some excuses came up with to justify being safe. As the day wore on, I could feel the nerve cracking, my will starting to give way. If this world had regular 24-hour days, I probably would be surrendered to cowardice. As night fell, I retreated to the bunker. Got into my bed and prepared for another recharge of sleep. I didn't get it. Bang, 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 bang. The clamor of zombie fists jolted me out of bed. A ghoul came calling. I gotta get out of here, I shouted, wishing a world would let me craft earplugs. I gotta get some sleep. The zombie groaned, teasing my terrified heart. Yeah, well, I won't tell you the last part I yelled. It wasn't my finest moment. But I really should have said the zombie was thank you, because after a day of trying to make up reasons not to fight, I find reminded of why I should. Each punch of the putrefied fist helped me batter my anxiety into resolve. If I didn't have my own to save my only arrow, I growled in grumbling ghoul, you might be a midnight snack. By dawn, I was more than ready for battle. I watched the sun burn and would be a home invader in the smoldering chunk, which I washed down with a bucket of Moo's finest. While more waiting, now or never. Bow in hand, I marched to the western door, stopped short of the head of the spider, just sitting between the shade of the wood. Now or never, I whispered again, creeping slowly across the exposed open field, and the arachnid didn't notice me, or, to my theory about daylight, it didn't seem to care. It turned away as I inched within a dozen or so blocks. Heart pounding, I drew back my bow. The arrow rocketed skyward, thunking out of the spider's bulbous body, and it did not die. This rasped the eight-legged killer, eyes whipping around in the lock scarcely into mine. Oh, I gulped. I sprinted back for safety of the hill. Hisses rang in my ears. Cold, jagged fangs ripped from my back. I fell forward, stumbling, gasping, running for my life as more bites tore at my exposed flesh. No amount of adrenaline would push me past the slicing fangs. No amount of hyperhealing would counter their continuous blows. A third strike knocked me against the side of the hill. I kissed dirt, felt the front teeth crack, and saw that I've never made it open the door. Hissed the excellent arachnid, crouching for its final leap. Enough, I shouted, grabbing a stone axe from my belt. I spun, swing, and caught my attacker in midair. Crude stones slammed against the crimson eyes, throwing the spider back and buying me enough time to run. Only I didn't run, I charged. Starting like a zombie, I struck the spider again. It hissed. I hit. It leaped. I chopped. A final rouse of puff smoke in my first stand-up battle was over, and his battered, tattered victor went to the length of the thin white silk. Moo, called my congratulatory friend, along with a few celebratory bahs. Thanks, bud, I huffed, grabbing a sticky twine. I hope it works. Slouching painfully over the crafting table, I faced my sticks and string. I coughed up the hyper-healing, tried, and failed to rejuvenate me in my empty stomach. Gotta work. And it did. 3 diagonal sticks and 2 vertical lengths of silk later was showing me a new invention to move. Look, I cried, then collapsed in a hacking fit. No more zombie flesh. My creation looked pretty much as you'd expect, a long wooden rod with a short line on the end. The crafting table had given me a hook and a little red and white mini square bobber. At least, I thought it was a bobber. It suddenly occurred to me that I had no memories of fishing. It must have been a bobber in the pictures I heard of someone else. That's probably why I considered another important fishing aid until now. What? Look, hooks don't need some kind of bait? I asked Moo nervously. Or a lure? Moo, responded even-tempered cow, reminded me that I don't even attract a squid to catch it. Right, sorry, I said till the flash of panic subsided. I just need to cast out and snag it, which means I can better practicing. Hopping north shore, I whipped the hook out into the sea. I'll say this for spider silk, I told Moo. It sure does stretch. I was about to pull my line for another practice cast when I noticed the water bubbling. To be more specific, I saw little mini squares of water popping out of the surface all around the bobber. Was it always this way? I asked Moo. Or did it not just notice it before? Moo's response sounded like, what do you think? Couldn't be, I answered. It's gotta be because of the hook, but why? I couldn't see any squids around, but I couldn't see anything else except the water. That new trail I yipped at the via bubbles peered off to my right. What is it? I asked nervously. What should I do? All I fear raced against the giant spider suddenly came rushing back. Was the skid far below the surface, or a bigger mama squid? Or some giant sea monster I hadn't seen before? Was it about to grab my hook, pull me in, drag me to the open, tooth-filled? Be brave, called Moo, forcing me to stand my ground. I think the fear you've conquered and the anxiety you've endured to get to this point, don't throw it all away now. You're right, I hollered, amazed at how much wisdom it could cram in a simple moo. Courage is a full-time job. The water splashed, the bobber sank, and I felt a strong tug of my line. I yanked back hard, expecting to see a sub-behemoth exploding up at me. Instead, a little bluish-gray creature about the size of my hand flew out of the water into my belt. A fish, I exclaimed. There's fish in the sea. I didn't worry about why I couldn't see them, or how this one had been attracted by my hook. I immediately jumped into the soft, smooth skin and was immensely relieved that my mouth and hand cooperated. Moo, called Moo, halting my chewing, reminding me of the dangers of raw food. Right, I told her. Sushi's great, but we don't know if it's sushi-grade fish. Limping back to my bunker, I was relieved to see that the furnace also complied. Filling my room with enticing familiar smell, the flames turned the bluish-gray fish and the flesh of a slippery slime into flaky white perfection. Delicious fish, I mumbled, savoring each mouthful as my hyper-healing roared back to life. More, I moaned, and stepped outside into the eastern beach. Just like before, I cast out the line and waited for the seas to boil. It took a little longer this time. Who knew fishing required patience? After a minute or so, I saw another bubbling V. I waited for a bite, felt a tug, and yanked back hard. This time, a small pink redfish, the pronounced lower jaw, flopped into my hand. You look like a tasty salmon, I told my dinner. Now let's see if you taste like one. Turning back to the bunker, my eyes happened to fall on a wheat garden. There's 3 squares of ripe grain. From famine to feast, I thought, plucking the golden stalks and carrying them to my beachside crafting table. 3 seconds and 3 vertical stalks later, I was holding soft, warm loaf of bread. And this tastes great, light and tangy, like a baguette straight from the oven. That's all it took, I marveled. Just 3 stalks to bake bread. Moo came all the way from the hilltop above. Yes, that's me, I smiled at Moo. The irrigation ditch must have made the wheat grow a lot faster. Moo, she continued, this time chastising edge of her voice. If I'd checked on the garden earlier, I conceded, I wouldn't have to take such a risk for a fishing pole. But then I never would have found my courage. Chapter 12. Risk and Reward. Good morning, I called out to my grazing friends. Look what I just learned. I held up today's uncooked salmon. Notice anything different, I asked. Exactly, there's no difference, because I've discovered that this world keeps everything preserved. Bah, said Flint, turning with Cloud for another patch of fresh grass. Yeah, maybe for you it's no big whoop, I said, but in my world, food spoiling is a huge deal. Back in the day, we had to dry or salt, or I think it was my spices were invented. I'm sure I heard that once. Even now, everything's got to be frozen, refrigerated, packed in preservatives. Which can be as dangerous as spoiled food, but this, I gave the salmon a reasoning sniff, this means I don't have to waste any time trying to figure out how to store my grub. I can just bank as much as I need for as long as I need it. Which means I got hunger licked. Humph, snorted Moo, warning me not to celebrate just yet. Right, I agreed. Grabbed my fishing pole from my pack. The garden's still tiny and the fish won't catch themselves. After crafting an outdoor furnace and breakfasting on rich, oily salmon, I parked myself in the island's southern shore and spent the rest of the morning fishing. I can't see why so many people in the world do it for fun. There's an anticipation of the first bite, the thrill of feeling something on your hook, and that last moment before you feel in your catch, when you wonder what's exactly on the line. That last part really came from the play when I discovered how many different things swam in the sea. In addition to the salmon and the blue grayfish, there were 2 other species I immediately recognized from home. The first was striped orange and white. The second was yellow, roundish, and spiky. Like I said, I may not have personally fished back in the world, but I'd seen enough movies or gone to enough aquariums to know that these are clowns and puffers. Since neither turned out to be cookable, I wasn't going to risk poison sushi. I packed them away for some possible future use. Ironically, my first inedible catch was the exact region I started fishing. Squids are a real pain in the lower rear portion of the body in this world won't let me sit on. They don't come for your hook like fish, and I didn't manage to snag one. I kept wriggling free. After several exaggerating attempts, I got one close enough to shadow hack it to death with my axe, and then, as a final result, I found out that the little bit of black meat they dropped wasn't actually meat, but a gland of my mouth wanted no part of. Whatever, I said with a shrug of Moo, examining 3 salmon and half a dozen blue grayfish in my pack, maybe just a few more, just to be safe. Whipping the hook out to sea, I waited for the inevitable V. A few minutes later, I spotted one, braced for a mild jerk of a bite, but it wasn't out at all. It's harsh and powerful, as something much bigger than a fish was on the other end of the line. Whoa, I blurted, nearly dropping my pole. Was it right about the mama squid, or a giant sea monster? Be brave, I gulped and yanked the quivering rod. Never would I have expected, neither imagined what popped from the bubbling surface. Not a fish, not a monster, but a pair of old, raggedy leather boots. Are these mine? I asked Moo. Do you think they fell off my feet when I woke up in the sea? Could they have been drifted here with the current? If that wasn't the answer, then someone else must have made them. At that moment, the world around me felt much bigger. Putting them on, I found a bit snugly over my painted-on shoes. They have to be mine, I said, unless everyone in this world has the same shoe size. I looked a few practice steps, and I didn't feel pretty good, too, and the extra padding really helps cushion my feet. Humph, scolded Moo, who began to walk away. Yes, I know they're cowhide, I argued, following her, but I just can't throw them away. I mean, yeah, they're a little rowdy and all, but the extra foot protection, the world stopped me in my tracks. Protection. A few days ago, I never would have made a mental leap, but now I've felt well-fed, well-rested brain latched onto the concept of safety. Do you think, I asked Moo, striding over to where she was lunching with Cloud, this wool will let me make more clothes and other materials? Bah, said Cloud, now with fully regrown coat. No, I mean wool, I told the sheep. I mean iron. I mean armor. Moo, said the cow, voicing a ton of questions. Of armor, I repeated. Something I can wear over my clothes that'll stop a zombie punch or a spider bite. Bah, asked Cloud. No, I'm not sure I can do it, I answered. I don't know if this world would let me. But now I've conquered hunger and the last basic need is safety. I took off the boots, gesturing them to the horizon. And once I crossed mob's attack off a list, I could stop worrying about survival and start asking really big questions. Moo, said Moo. Yep, I answered, looking at the ground beneath my feet. Looks like I've got a whole lot of mining to do. Looking up at the torches and couple square pickaxes, I headed down a spiral staircase. It was slow, boring work. One gray block after another. I didn't have a few false alarms though. When I started coming across other types of rocks, when they're all speckled gray, white, and pink, they were also utterly useless, but not even worthy of a name. It was almost a relief to break the monotony with a pocket dirt. Using a shovel, I started scooping, loud, resounding, "Aw, yeah!" The last scoop revealed a roll of iron ore. End of the line, I chirped, not realizing it was just the beginning. Behind the 8 orange flecked blocks, I discovered an entirely new ore. This one was red, like coal and iron, embedded in a standard gray rock. Now that's kind of cool, I said, as the first strike of my pickaxe caused a small cherry freckles to glow. Now, if you know anything similar kind of stuff in our world, you're free to add a footnote to this story, or any future travelers. But since I've never seen or heard anything close to this red stone, I'm just going to call it redstone. Later, much later, I learned that this was one of the most valuable, useful commodities in this world. At the time, though, I was so ignorant that I didn't even know how to mine it. First, I tried a few wipes with my stone pickaxe. All I did was obliterate the entire rock. Maybe an iron pickaxe would do better, I thought, deciding to put iron tools ahead of iron clothes. But after climbing back to the bunker, I threw the raw ore into the furnace, then carried a finished ingots out of my forest-side crafting table. After making an iron-tipped pickaxe, I tried my hand in an anti-mob fashion. 90 seconds later, I had my answer. This world would let me make armor, I called to Moo, holding up an iron cap. Donning my new helmet, I was shocked at how light and comfortable it felt. Wasn't armor supposed to be opposite, heavy and hot and really scratchy? How cool is this? I asked, strutting against the grazing cow. Comfy and monster-proof. Moo warned over my ever-wary friend. I answered the dismissive wave. I won't assume anything until it's properly tested. On the other hand, it's going to stop mining while I wait for the test to happen. After another restful, dreamless sleep, I raced downstairs like a Christmas morning, in which I kind of considering how many presents were waiting for me below. I thought of more iron and new mysterious redstone, even enough to lighten my every step. I cut to the chase. My iron pickaxe let me mine the redstone out of the rock, but after some quick underground crafting experience, I wasn't able to make anything other than a torch. That dim, sputtering little torch, by the way, didn't throw nearly as much light as the regular coal-tipped model. Well, that's a letdown, I said, pocketing the rest of the redstone. I turned to my new shiny metal pickaxe and said, but at least I got you now. And that leap over the stone model it was. Not only was it an iron pickaxe twice as efficient, but it gave me twice as punishment as well. Now the Iron Age has come, I thought, knocking stone after stone aside, better tools and armor, and who knows what else I can make. Half a day later, I mined through enough iron to craft a chest plate, or breastplate, or whatever proper term iron shirt, just for the helmet. It was light as a feather, and just like the doors and hatches of wood, the arms moved on invisible joints, perfectly flexible. I caught up to move, waving my stone axe in mock battle. A few more hauls that I took like a hero from a fantasy novel, or one from the real Dark Ages. At that, Moo shot me a curious look. No, I wasn't actually dark, I explained. More like an expression for dumbness. It was this place in time when people didn't read and bathe like never and fought a lot because they couldn't think of anything better to do. And because they fought so much, they had to wear iron clothes, and my voice trailed off. Now that I had the image of floating full suit of armor in my head, I saw a natural component that escaped me until that moment. Sword, I shouted Moo. And the sheep and anyone who heard would listen. I gotta make a sword. I hit the stairs at light speed. Please, world, let me make a sword, I prayed, looking through the endless stones. The great wall fell away, revealing dim orange spots. I couldn't wait to get upstairs and know them. I had to know right then. Sweating as my new furnace turned a little hollow-out chamber into sauna. I cursed at this world for not letting me cross my fingers. I didn't need to. It worked. Just one stick under 2 iron ingots gave me a weapon of lethal beauty. You are safety, I told the sword, for you are strength. And yes, if you're wondering, this world will make you make both a stone and wood sword if you want. And yes, I'm not exactly pleased with myself for not finding out about it sooner, but let's just remember the rule about dwelling on the past mistakes, shall we? And focus on the accomplishments of the present. You need to be named, I told the double-edged blade. Isn't that what the little guy in that story did after he killed the giant spider? Or when the king pulled his sword from the stone? That's kind of what I did, just a few extra crafting steps. He had Excalibur, whatever that means. I kicked around a bunch of awesome names. Slayer, Stormbrewer, or the Fire of Eternal Flame. What I said on didn't sound as cool, but I never exemplified what a weapon meant to be. Since your job is to protect me, I said, you'll forever be known as Protector. And since the few theatrical slices I added, and just wait till that night scum up top tastes your wrath. Squeak! I froze, wondering if I heard my own boots. Squeak! No, not me. It was something else, something close, something that might have behind the rocks. We got company, I told Protector, switching into my iron pickaxe. Tried to trace the source of the noise. Remember how I had a little while, but that sounds of the island may have an annoying habit of coming from all directions. Well, it's no different underground. The first tunnel I made just had been completely the wrong direction, because a minute or so in, I heard the squeaking sounds fading. Turning around, I only tunneled away before the stone block in front of me suddenly vanished. And I didn't mean cut or disintegrated. I mean, literally poofed away like a dead mob. In its place, a small, gray, prickly creature that looked like a crab or porcupine had a child. Well, hi there, I said, stepping up with thought it was perfectly harmless critter. It's nice to meet. Ow! I jumped back and the little teeth stabbed into my leather of my boot. Why, you little, I began, and let out an undignified yee in the second bite. Get out of here, I squealed, backing up the stairs. I wouldn't leave me alone, snapping and snipping and doing its best to tick me off. I'm warning you, I said between yelps and yelps. Seriously, don't make me have to. The next bite was its last. One good sword swipe made it one dead crabupine. Sorry, you didn't have to be more heroic debut, I told Protector. But we now know the source of the noise. And then, on cue, came another squeak. Or not, I said, realizing the little toad biter had back up. Sword raised, I stepped cautiously back into the crabupine's tunnel. This time I hadn't even need a pickaxe or 2 more stones puffed in the air of gnashers. Well, I said, sliding into the dust, at least now I know how to make iron shoes for squeak. Seriously, I thought, wondering how many more annoying crabupies lay in wait. Squeak came the sound, closer than ever. Wait a minute, I said, taking a moment to listen. The sound I'd been hearing this time was close, but not really like a crabupine's crackling snap. It was more of a squeak like you hear from a mouse or a rat. Great, I said sarcastically. Now I know how to get rid of my toes nibbled by vermin. Pickaxe in hand and sword in belt, I bashed away the stone wall in front of me and gasped when a block fell away into pitch. Black, hot, moist air whooshed through the opening, along with a small brown winged creature. Bat, I thought, and drew Protector. Didn't bats suck your blood? Would it go to my neck or my eyes? But the answer was neither. His bird-like rodent flew right past me and up the staircase to the surface. You better be the last thing I find down here, I called it, grateful that I didn't hear any more squeaks. I cleared out the tunnel's second stone, making an entrance tall enough to walk through. Before taking one more step, however, I made sure to place a torch on the floor in front of me. Its flickering light barely touched the walls and ceiling, a truly massive cave. I could see several collections of coal, redstone, and even my great joy, iron, all bedded in nearby walls. Jackpot, I bouted. Rushing past the circle of light, more torches revealed more iron, more coal, more... Click! I froze. Clickety-clack. Bones? No, it can't be. Not down here. An arrow whizzed past the darkness, striking me in the shoulder. I spun more from the impact than the actual wound, as the iron shirt had stopped it from going far in. To my stutter shock, I saw a skeleton archer clattering in the glow. How'd you get down here? I asked, raising Protector. Can you spawn underground as well? My enemy answered with another arrow, and this one landing my ironclad chest. I winced, charging toward the Protector poised to strike. 2 arrows, yes 2, met me halfway. The first time a skeleton in front of me, and the second from the darkness behind it. What? Where? Stunned and not deterred, I tried another frontal assault. A pair of projectiles knocked me back. Now I could see the second skeleton, clacking in the shadows and plant a well-shaped arrow in my chest. I paused, another volley punctured my shirt. You're not even supposed to be down here. I feel still reeling from surprise and disbelief. I hesitated long enough to another twin shot at me kicked me back. Looking like a pincushion, I now saw my present strategy could only get me killed. Even in my quickest run, I would never get close enough to hit him, and my armor and hyper healing would only go for so long. I never outlast a bombardment. All right then, I shouted, turning and running for the exit. You come to me. Zigzagging through the endless barrage, I pranced back into the safety of the tunnel. The bonies were clicking just a few steps behind. Good, I thought, hiding off to the side of the entrance. Earlier, I'd learned about the value of thinking under pressure. Now I had my first chance to practice it. Distance, I realized, was the ally of the bow and the enemy and the sword. Cramped quarters, however, might even the odds. As the first fleshless place clacked into view, I slammed my blade right into it. The skeleton pivoted towards me, shooting point blank in my leg. I hissed as the arrow lanced deep into my unarmored thigh. Now you die! The final slash and sniper puffed away. Before the smoke cleared, the second thoughtless bonehead took its place. Its time clear. I learned enough to keep the corner of the chamber, just close enough to strike, but obstructed enough to prevent clean shot. Eat this, bone boy, I growled, and my blade sent the second skeleton to meet his partner. I slumped against the rear stone wall, and I reached frantically in my belt for some fish. The one I'd brought along as a snack was enough to close most of my wounds and dissolve the forest of arrows growing out of my chest. As they vanished one by one, I saw the holes they made in my armor remained. Gotta learn to fix those, I said, seeing the Protector had also taken it 3 scratches. Looking down at my feet, I saw the skeletons had left me several war trophies. I picked up another bow, 2 more arrows, and 2 dry, bleached leg bones. As I examined them in my left hand, the image of white powder appeared in my right. Okay, now, if you already know what bone meal is, give yourself a pat on the back. Oh, that's right, this world won't let you. Just like it won't let me pull an arrow out of mine. At that point, however, I didn't share about the ground-up dead skeletons and the danger of more live ones underground. How do they do it? I shouted, bursting through the door of my observation room. How do mobs spawn in caves? Moo, replied a munching cow, as if to say, they just do. I thought I was safe down there, I complained, pacing angrily in front of her. The whole point of the get stuff is to protect me from mobs up here. Moo snorted tersely. I sighed. I guess you're right. It's totally worth it because whatever I find to protect me will also protect me down there. I took off my own iron shirt, examining the cheese crater holes. It's hard to put up, except there's going to be challenges everywhere I go. Moo snorted again. Good point. The sooner I accept it, the easier it'll be prepared for it. I slipped my battered armor back on and pulled out my battle-tested sword. Great risks come with great rewards. Oh, that they do. The great risk of me losing my voice gives me the great reward of, well, actually, that's not going to give me any reward, and as a matter of fact, it ain't really a risk. Oy vey. Do. What was the great risk is that today we read pages 124 to 148, 24 pages, and I only say it's a great risk because, oh my goodness, you know how hard it is for my voice to recover? I am not medically inclined for this type of thing, at least in this way of work. But we also read chapters 11 to 12. Next time we will be reading pages 149 to 163, only 14 pages, chapters 13. It ain't gonna be that bad. It's gonna be relatively easy, so I mean that's good. What's also good is that it's time for Reading Corner of the Day, doing it up Stonsey's way, bop. Today we are learning about the Norwegian Elkhound. It looks a lot like a husky. I bet it gets mistaken as a husky. How's it feel to be the rip-off husky, you Norwegian Elkhound, you silly doggy? Well, before you can make fun of anything, even if it's a minor or major, you should learn of its history. Not only does it build your credibility, make you look smarter in front of your mom, your dad, and your picture of, you as a baby, but it also just makes you smarter and more credible. But don't ever think that smartness only comes from knowing things. It's using them in the real world. As a matter of fact, Albert Einstein would have never figured out how to do, would never have been smart until he started doing things in front of other people to show he's smart. Intelligence comes to those who truly know how to push it. It's never about knowing, it's about knowing and showing and evolving. And that's called being human. But we don't care about humans, we care about dogs. So the history of the Norwegian Elkhound is that the Elkhound is an unusual hound because of its roots lie in the Spitz breeds, which it still closely resembles. Its placement in the hound group reflects partly in the misinterpretation of its original Hund name as hound, but mostly because of its functionality as a scent hound, using its tracking abilities to hunt moose and larger game. The Elkhound has served as a hunter, guardian, herder, and defender since at least the time of the Vikings. In a land of sub-zero temperatures, steep snow, thick forests, and rugged mountains, only the hardest of breeds would evolve to perform a variety of jobs which the Elkhound excels. Of all its roles, hunting and the elk, moose, is his breed's forte. Two hunting-style Elkhounds are used. The Boundhund is attached by a long line of the hunter while tracking the scent. The Lost Hound tracks the head of the hunter until it confronts its quarry. Its goal is to hold the moose at bay, and will hunt quietly if the moose begins to run away. If the moose stops, the dung begins barking fiercely to alert the hunter, nimbly jumping in and out toward the moose. It deftly avoids the swinging antlers. Either way, the Elkhound's job is not to kill the moose, but to locate it and hold it at bay until the hunter can shoot it. Although the breed can be carefully bred for centuries, only since the late 1800s were pedigrees kept and breeding according to a standard performed. The breed had also exhibited at the Scandinavian dog shows since that time was brought to England and America shortly thereafter. The American Kennel Company, or AKC, recognized the breed around 1930 and has enjoyed moderate popularity since then. In Scandinavia, the Elkhound is still tested by grueling moose hunts and may entail an entire day of tracking. What a very strong yet silly looking dog. Well, now that you know of its cool little hunting past with the Vikings, you want it. So you want to know its temperament. What, is it good with kids? If it's good at hunting, it may be not so good with kids. But then again, it hanged out with Vikings all the time, so it's hard to say. Maybe it's as violent as a Viking. Ooh, well, the temperament of the Norwegian Elkhound is that the Norwegian Elkhound combines the traits of hounds and Spitz-like dogs, resulting in the breed that is bold, playful, independent, alert, and boisterous. It's a dog ready for adventure and happy as the adventure takes place outdoors in the cold weather. It needs daily exercise lest it become frustrated or even disruptive. It's friendly with strangers and may quarrel with the strange dogs. It tends to pull on a leash unless strained, and it does bark a lot. Well, it is kind of looks like a hound, so it must act like a hound, or a hound. So it makes sense. But what's the upkeep? How do I keep this dog loud and happy and silly and runny all the time? So what's its upkeep? Well, the Elkhound was developed in the hunt all day after grueling conditions. It needs daily exertion in order to feel satisfied. This can be in the form of a good jog, very long walk, or invigorating play session. It can live outdoors in temperate or cool climates. It's happiest living in the family. Its double coat needs brushing twice a week and daily during main shedding season when it sheds a lot. Now, if you're a child who just wants to look at the silly puppy dog, please cover your ears with mute the video. To any adults or teenagers who own a Norwegian Elkhound, please get your notebooks out, for it is time for the health of the Norwegian Elkhound. Now, when I say health, I actually mean the health concerns. It's just literally titled health in the book. Now, for the major concerns, it's CHD. Minor concerns are hot spots, kidney disease, renal dysplasia, sebaceous cyst. They're occasionally seen with Fanconi syndrome, PRA, patellar luxation, and intracutaneous cornifying epithelioma, my bad, and suggested tips are hip, eye, urine for Fanconi, and their lifespan is 10 to 12 years. Now, you don't own any kids, and I just basically told no one in the room to do anything. So what's the form and function, Stonsey? If I wasn't looking at this dog, how would I know what it is? Well, the form and function is that a typical northern Spitz-like breed, the Norwegian Elkhound is square proportioned, close coupled, and substantial boned. Proud head, picked ears, and slightly curled tail is constructed for agility and endurance. Rather than speed, enable it for trail for hours and then speed with big game at bay by barking and dodging attack. Its trot is effortless. Its thick, smooth lion coat consists of straight outer hairs and woolly undercoat. This combination presents the best protection against cold and snow. Alright, for the final section of today's video, we have the tier list of the Norwegian Elkhound. 5 is the best, 4 is better, 3 is average, 2 is worse, 1 is the worst unless it comes to grooming. Now, energy level is at a 4, pretty high energy. Exercise requirements are at a 3, pretty average. Playfulness is at a 4, pretty big. Affection level is at a 3, average. Friendliness towards dogs and other pets is at a 2, so worse, but you know. Friendliness towards strangers is at a 4, which is eh. Ease of training and watchdog ability are at a 3, so pretty easy to train and pretty easy to see. Makes sense, as they were gatherers, not necessarily hunters. Protection ability and grooming requirements are at a 2. Pretty high for grooming requirements, which is kind of scary. Cold tolerance is at a 5, so these dogs can withstand the cold and then some, but heat tolerance is at a 2 for the trade. It means they can't take the heat very well. Thick coats and such. Now, for the weight of a male, a healthy weight of a male should be 55 pounds and a female 48 pounds. For the healthy weight of a male Norwegian Elkhound should be 20.5 inches, and female should be 19.5 inches for their height. Oh, wow. The next sound is seen in a Disney movie, as a matter of fact, because it is the one you'll see in the next episode. Man. My voice is killing me. I thought I could do 24 pages and then this without a single thing of water. You can probably tell throughout the video, so it's great. Yeah, hope you guys do a fantastic, wonderful day. People like, be efficient. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.